Golovkin versus Geale. We are making the rounds here on ESPN.com. Pretty boy is back. Brian Campbell alongside BC. I'm Jim Basswell. Dan Rayfield will join us in a moment. Unbeaten WBA middleweight champ Gennady Golovkin gets the biggest challenge of his young career this Saturday against former world champion Daniel Geale. They will do it from Madison Square Garden. Brian, what are you expecting to tweet post-fight Saturday night?
Jim, I think we're going to see two headlines come out of Saturday night's fight. The first one being that this will be another explosive performance for Triple G, another in his line of knockouts. I think this time it may come later in the fight, though. And I think the second is that he will be pushed farther in this fight than really he has. I mean, on paper, Daniel Geale represents his toughest test to date, and I think we're going to see that play out in this fight. I think he's got a guy in front of him who's versatile, who's savvy, and who also is tough, and he's going to have an opportunity to push Triple G late. But when all things are said and done, I think the cream will rise to the top like it has.
That's something to look forward to. You love seeing how the great ones respond when they're challenged. ESPN boxing insider Dan Rayfield, what does Geale need to do, though, to pull that upset?
Well, Jim, I think the first thing that Daniel Geale is going to need to do is he's going to need to test Gennady Golovkin and show him that he can take his punching power. Gennady Golovkin's a great puncher. He's one of the best finishers in boxing. And so it's going to be up to Geale to show that if he gets nailed early on, that he can take the shot, he can take the power, and give Gennady Golovkin second thoughts about unloading his arsenal on him and going for the knockout. So if he can take a little bit, he's got a chance maybe to give him second thoughts. But the thing is, he is the boxer in this fight, not the puncher. Yep. So besides the ability to maybe take a shot, he's going to have to do some good boxing. He's going to have to stick and move. He's going to have to use his legs a little bit.
It makes sense. Triple G, Brian, is on a 5-year run where he's knocked out every opponent he's faced. But what does he still need to do for you to say?
Jim, he's shown us just about everything on this destructive run so far. But look, if there's one thing you can sort of call out, it's that he's not been able to do this yet against a real elite level opponent. You know, not his fault, but that's just sort of the way the matchmaking has fallen. In this chance, he's going to have as close to facing an elite level opponent as he has in Geale. So really, that's opportunity to do that against a guy who's as skilled and as crafted. But if there's one thing Gennady can show me above all else, it's what he can do if he gets into a situation where he has to alter his game plan. If Geale can put him into a spot where there needs to come a plan B out of Golovkin, that's going to be the real opportunity for him to show just how great he is. Because as we know, as we talked about ad nauseum, he dominates and destroys that eye test, Jim. But he's got to prove himself in there before he can get the full appeal from everybody.
Yeah, you saw Floyd last time out alter his game plan midway through. You'd like to see that again with some of these great fighters, these great young fighters. Dan, another impressive showing from Triple G leads to what?
Well, he's already been willing to fight any of the top guys out there. There's nobody specifically on their agenda. He would love to fight Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. at super middleweight. That's a fight that should have taken place in July, but because Chavez and his promoter Top Rank had a really tough time and were unable to close their part of the deal, it didn't happen. So it's possible that if he beats Geale, that his promoter K2, Tom Lawler, can go back to Top Rank and see if they can perhaps work on something with Chavez for near the end of this year. There's also the possibility Chavez, they've been talking about maybe a Carl Froch fight, but Golovkin's going to get a big fight, whether it's Chavez or after Miguel Cotto beat Sergio Martinez to win the lineal or the real legitimate middleweight championship of the world. Aaron mentioned Cotto against Golovkin. Who wouldn't want to see that in December at Madison Square Garden? Keep in mind, Cotto has been the house fighter at the Garden for several years. But Gennady Golovkin is going to become one of the new house fighters at the Garden. He's fighting in the main room for the first time after other fights in the small theater. And so I think you can certainly make the argument that Gennady Golovkin taking on Miguel Cotto for the legit middleweight championship of the world is one of the biggest fights you can make in boxing. Maybe we'll see that as a possibility.
Sign me up for that one. Brian, I'll tell you what, I'll go to MSG for that one.
You heard it right here. We'll get basketball to ringside. That would be a fight.
Gennady Golovkin, Danny Geale from MSG. That's a look ahead. We'll have the highlight on Saturday night. For Dan Rayfield and Brian Campbell, I'm Jim Basswell. We're making the rounds right here on the boxing page of ESPN.com.